They thought about a brain replacement, but I thought they'd just start lower. About 35 years ago, I fell on where I live on the bank, came straight down on my backside, and damaged at that moment the end of my spine, which started a process that ended up with something called lumbar stenosis. For a long time, I didn't go to anyone to get it treated. And then it started bothering me some, especially my left leg. So I went to the Sims Murphy Clinic, and he diagnosed me with lumbar stenosis, which is an arthritic family thing. As you get older, you meet arthritis, and he's quite an interesting gentleman, very painful fellow. And they told me that the back was causing my left leg pain, and so that's what I was thinking. That's what it is. That's why I have this pain. That's why I limp. If you'll notice tonight, I'm not limping, and there's a reason for that. I don't think the same way about that back anymore. I went to the Campbell Clinic 3 weeks ago, and the fellow there named Sherman, who was a direct descendant of the fellow who ransacked Atlanta, General Sherman of the Civil War fame. This Dr. Sherman, however, examined me and said, "It's not your back, Keith, it's your hip." Oh, now I'm thinking differently. But for all those years, I was thinking my back is causing my leg pain, which brings me to the thought about thinking, which is 1 Timothy 4:8, is it not? Think on these things. Why? There's a blessing in it. Now that I have the right information, now that I can think about it correctly, well, he actually put a shot in there, and I haven't had any pain since then. But that won't work permanently, and so they've got the. But think about it. Now I know what the reason is. Now I can get it fixed, and I hope I can get it fixed anyway. Hope the guy's good at what he does. You know, they do this outpatient surgery now. That's what they do, and you go home the same day you get the surgery done. So it's an amazing thing done now. But notice how I was thinking. Blaming my back for pain in my leg, which wasn't caused by my back at all. It was caused by my hip. And what a relief it is not to have that pain tonight. I'm thinking differently. That's what Paul's trying to get us to do here, to think differently, to think on things that are of good report. And I thought about that phrase, and I thought, well, everybody's going to be talking about things on which to think. But what is this word report that Paul used here? And so what I want to do is to take a look at a number of verses in the Old and New Testament that have the word report in them in the English. But when we get to 1 Timothy 4:8, I want you to be as surprised as I was when we got there and saw what that word was Paul used. Because there's all kinds of words translated report in your Bible. And when we get done looking at some of those word things, maybe we can make some application of what it really means to think on things of good report. If you'll start with me tonight, we'll go to 1 Samuel 2:24. 1 Samuel 2:24. This was a report that Eli received about his sons. And he told them it was an evil report. And it's interesting, the word translated report there, Shema. Or Shemaiah, it means, here, I heard about you folks, and it was an evil report. Well, that's one way you can get a report. You hear it. And that's what happened to Eli, who was very ashamed of the fact that he had not controlled his sons correctly. And of course, we know the evil report that came about them, an evil report. This same word is used in Nehemiah 6:13, where Zerubbabel got the evil report about Shemaiah and Hananiah and those who were against him. A Shema. The word Shema is the word given to the thing that a Jewish boy and girl learn very early in their lives. Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one God. Hear, Deuteronomy 6:4. So we have this word report just to hear it. And I've heard many, many things in my lifetime. I've heard rumors. I've heard this, that, and the other thing. In fact, if I want to get depressed, I just turn on the evening news and listen to the world report on itself. And don't ever forget that the whole world lies in wickedness. And so what I'm hearing there is wickedness. Wouldn't it be interesting if you turned on the evening news and someone said, Brother Cain baptized so-and-so today? Wouldn't that be a good report? That's not what you hear. You hear Shema. You hear it, but it's an evil report. So we have this word Shema. Look now at Proverbs 15:30. Here's a different term, but it's translated report. And the end of Proverbs 15:30 says, a good report makes your bones fat. Now, I don't know who wants fat bones, but I think he means it makes it a good thing. It makes you feel really good. I guess if you have fat bones, that's a good thing. But it's interesting the way that's translated. But this is the word davar. You spell it in English, D-A-B-A-R, but it's pronounced as if it were a V, davar. This is the term that's used when the prophet said, the word of the Lord came to me saying. The davar, the divine message that I heard. Well, a good message, a good word, makes you feel good, doesn't it? I mean, when Melissa says to you after the sermon, where in the world did you get that outline? That's not a davar. That's not a good thing.
Borrowed it from Brother Mosher.
Pardon?
Tell I borrowed it.
Oh, you borrowed it from me? Yeah, okay. One of my students giving it right back to me here. That's how I know they're ready to graduate, incidentally, when they give it back to me. Look at Nehemiah 6:5 while I'm thinking of it. Nehemiah 6:5. Here's an interesting word, and it's not used very often in the Old Testament. Nehemiah 6:5. Look here. If I can find it. Then sent Sanballat his servant unto me in like manner, that's verse 6. The fifth time with an open letter in his hand, whereas when it was written, it is reported. That means that everybody was saying it, and they finally wrote it down. This is the word Amar, A-M-A-R, and it means that here's a report that everybody knew. The whole of the land people knew of this situation. Sometimes we hear those kinds of things. Everybody seems to know it, except the one who needs to know it sometimes. That's an Amar. So you have a Shema, you heard it. You have a Davar, which can be a good report or an evil, depending on the adjective. You have an Amar, somebody saying it, or look in now at Jeremiah 20, verse 10. Here's another word translated report. Far different word, however, from the ones we've been already examining. For I heard the defaming of many, fear on every side. Report, said they, and we will report it. All my familiars watch for my halting, saying, perhaps he will be enticed, and we shall prevail against him, and we shall take our revenge on him. This is a nagad, N-A-G-A-D. This is an idea of a rumor that they were spreading, and they were just telling it everywhere. In fact, it says, report, say they, and we will tell it. You know, it's not so bad, I suppose, to hear a rumor. The bad part is reporting it, saying it when we don't really know it's true. There was an article that went around in the church bulletins years ago that Madalyn Murray O'Hair had been able to stop all religious broadcasting. And I saw that article in I don't know how many church bulletins. It wasn't true. She hadn't stopped it. I called the source up in Michigan, the fellow that had put it out first, and he said he did it as an experiment in how brethren love to spread rumors. I said, that wasn't a nice thing to do, not a good thing to do. But that wasn't true, and I sort of recognized that I guessed that it wasn't. But sometimes, I get phone calls sometimes, did you hear about it? And I said, no, and I don't believe it anyway. That's my response to that. I don't want to hear it. I think I've told you before that in my office when I was doing local work, I had a 3-ring notebook on my desk. And brethren would like to come in sometimes and tell me about certain other brethren doing this, that, or the other thing. And I'd say, wait. I'd turn that ring, open it, give them a pen and say, now write that down and sign your name to it. No more than a God after that. No more. Nobody ever wrote in that book. They stopped immediately. We have the Hebrew words, shema, to hear. That's a kind of report. We have the word davar, which is just a message that came. We have the word amar, which is like a rumor. You're saying it all the time, or telling it, now God. And so the last two are more connected to rumors than anything else. But in the original language in the New Testament, we have a different word. Look over at 1 Timothy 5:10. 1 Timothy 5:10. Timothy is being advised here on relationships. And this one can be a problem. 1 Timothy 5:10. This woman who is in the number has to be well reported of. Look at the word report, underline it. This same term is used in several other verses in the New Testament, but it has a special idea to it. In order for someone to make this kind of a report, he has to be a witness to it. He has to have seen it. Look over at 1 Corinthians 14:25. And thus are the secrets. Here's a fellow who comes in as an unbeliever, and they teach him through prophesying, and he is overtaken with the truth. And it says here, he will worship God and report. He'll be a witness to the fact that God is in you of a truth. That would be a good attitude for all of us to have for visitors. They will see the truth here when they come. They will be a witness to the fact that we are telling the truth. This is the word martyria, a witness. We have people running around today talking about witnessing for Christ. It's a denominational idea. But to be a witness, you have to have seen the Lord. Technically speaking, then, I'm not a witness for Christ, although people ought to be able to see the truth in me and be a witness to the fact that I follow Him. And so we could look at it that way. This is the word martyria. Look at Romans 3:8. I'll just take you through this word for a minute, because I want you to be as surprised as I was when we get to 1 Timothy 4:8. Did I remind you to be surprised? Romans 3:8. And not rather as we be slanderously reported. Well, they were saying things about Paul that just weren't true. That he was teaching, let us do good, let us do evil, that good may come. And so it is the case that they were not telling the truth. In Hebrews, the 11th chapter, Face Hall of Fame, this word is used twice. Verse 2, for by the elders, by it, their faith, the elders received a good witness. From whom? God. When God saw the faith of Abel and Moses and Noah and Moses and Abraham, all of those people, it was a witness to the fact, to God, that these are good folks. Verse 39, same word, Hebrews 11. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. Their faith was such that they had to believe something that they never would see themselves, which is part of our faith, isn't it? In John's third letter, and verse 12, don't ask me what chapter now, 3 John 12. I will not write with paper and ink, having many things to write unto you, I would not write, but I trust to come and speak face to face. The word translated right here, oh, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong verse. The word translated report here, or record, the word translated report. Demetrius has good report of all men. Everybody that knows him is a witness to his goodness. And finally, 1 Timothy 3:7. This is about the elders. He must have a good report of them which are without. But this is not the word used in 1 Timothy 4:8, even though it's translated good report several times. But that one has to do with witnessing. You've seen it, then you can report on it. But there's one other word used in the Testament only once. Look at John 12:35. It's translated report, but it really means rumor. John 12:35. Then Jesus said unto them, Yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness come to you upon you. For he that walketh in the darkness know whither you go, that while you have the light, believe in the light, that you may be the children of light. These things spoke Jesus, and departed, and did hide himself from them. But though he had done so many miracles before them, yet they believed not on him. Now watch. That the saying of Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled, which he spake, Lord, who hath believed our rumor? Isaiah was so depressed that no one heard his message, that when I look back on Isaiah 53:1, I found that word Nagadim again. And I found this rumor, this saying going around as to why folks didn't believe. But I still don't have the word translated good report, 1 Timothy 4:8. Let's look at it now.
Philippians.
Everybody acts surprised.
Philippians.
Pardon?
Philippians.
What did I say?
1 Timothy.
Who knows what I said? I'm tired. Philippians 4:8. Thank you. Philippians 4:8. Whatsoever things are of good report. And of all things, this is the only time this word used in the whole New Testament. And that surprised me. Paul chose a term here different from rumor and hearing it and saying it and spreading it, witnessing it. He chose the word euphemos. E-U-P-H-E-E-M-O-S. Euphemos. When you hear something that's of this caliber, it sounds well. If it's this euphemos, it's an evil report. 2 Corinthians 6:8. But in our text we have euphemos. And the cognate of euphemos is joy. The word for joy, euphino. That comes from korah in the New Testament, most of the time from korah. But the cognate of euphemos is euphino. It has the sense of, it sounds well when I hear it. It's filled with joy when I hear it. In fact, it is noble in what I'm hearing. When Paul said, think on things that sound well, that are filled with joy, that are noble, he was talking about things that are relevant to our lives as Christians. Things that are fair, they have no corruptness. A good report, my English teacher told me, is straightforward, honest, no deception, no fluff, readable, to the point, free of the language of errors. When I think of things that are euphemos, I'm thinking about the best things possible. That means I don't think in terms of double entendre, ever. I don't put an evil construction on the statements of other people. I don't do that to them. People are prone to do that, but Paul said don't think like that. Think noble thoughts. After all, we are the children of a king. We should be of the nobility, things that are fine. Back before dirt was invented, I was in high school. Yeah, listen. My high school reunion this year is 65 years, folks. How long is yours? You've never been to one, have you?
No.
I never have either. 65 years ago, I was in. Do you know what we had in our high school, John? Every week we went into the assembly and listened to a symphony. They still do that? What are they teaching our children now? Noble things? Things that sound well? What were they trying to teach us? We read the classics. I read Beowulf when I think I was about 13 years old. Didn't understand it then, still don't, but I read it. We read the classics. We were taught that kind of thing. My mother would say over and over again, if you can't think of something good about someone, don't think or don't say, But let's look at what happens when you listen to a report that can cause fear in you. Look over at Numbers, the 13th chapter with me. Do I have a first-year student in here tonight? Are they all gone this week? You want to play the part?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There in the 13th chapter, you got 12 spies named, right?
Yes, sir.
I want you to tell me the names of 10 of them, the evil ones. We don't know their names. Not important. We know the two who got the good report. What's their names?
Joshua and Caleb.
Joshua and Caleb. They brought a good report. But that evil report from the 10 overweighed the good report of the 2. And just like when someone in the congregation kills a good program by his complaining, that's what happened here. They had a good program. They were going to go in there and take the land of Canaan. But their false report caused something in these people called fear. Look at Numbers 14:1. Read it for me.
And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night.
And I know that's fear because later in the chapter he says so. Don't let this fear overcome. When you don't think of things that are of good report, fear can build up inside of you, folks. Listen to that acronym, FEAR. False evidence appears real. FEAR. You got a report. What about the report about my hip? That wasn't right. And all those years I was going around blaming my back, poor back. Wasn't my back causing it. I had the wrong report. I had an evil report. It can cause fear in you. I see where the European scientists are telling us the world's going to end in 50 years. Somebody let me know. Dig me up and let me know if that happens, would you? We have fear mongers everywhere among us. I know who's in control of this world, and it's not the European scientists. But when you get an evil report, it can cause great fear in you. Look at 1 John 5:19. I quoted it earlier, but I want to look at it now. And John says we know this. This is something we know. And we know that we are of God. Let's think on that good report. That's noble. I am God's child. I am not a sinner saved by grace. I'm a Christian saved by grace. I am released from the bondage of sin, according to the book of Romans. I'm no longer in that category unless I go back and err from the truth and become a sinner again, James 5:19 and 20. But since I know I'm of God, that's a good report. Here's a good report in the negative. And the whole world lies in what? What do we know? The whole world lies where? In wickedness. Everybody you know that's not a Christian is in that second category. That's not a good report. I would love for them to listen to the good report, the best report of all. Let's get Matthew 28:18 through 20. Here's something noble. Go teach, or go make disciples, really. In fact, this text says, as you go. In the original language, it says, as you're going along in life. You don't have to make a special trip. Good to make a special trip sometime, but you don't have to do this. As you go along, make disciples. How? Baptizing and teaching them. Well, how long does that take? A lifetime? We're still teaching tonight, aren't we? And so that's a good thing. That's a good... Nothing made me more excited than to know that I had baptized someone during the week. Well, I could preach Sunday when that happened. That's a good report. But evil reports cause fear, depression, unnecessary fear, and unnecessary depression. I do not fear what man can do to me. I don't. Now, if you'll open your Bible to Psalm 48, I'll try to get through this and we'll finish. You have a word here, euphemos. Think on noble things, which implies something. It implies an active faith. An inactive faith cannot possibly think on things of good report. Here in the 43rd Psalm, the 48th Psalm, every once in a while my tongue gets in front of my eye tooth and I can't see what I'm saying. Psalm 48, now watch, 12 and 13. Walk about Zion, go round about her, tell the towers thereof, mark you well her walls, consider her palaces, that ye may tell it to the generations following. The psalmist said to the Jews of his time, walk around the city of Jerusalem, take a look at the walls, take a look at the hill on which she is located. That's good news, because every benefit is yours from that city. Then God honors those, you see, who are of good report to Him. Walk around Zion. Let's take a walk around the church here. Let's take a look at all the benefits, every spiritual blessing, every comfort, every joy, every experience that's right and good. Just walk around and take a look. In fact, Paul said it this way, walk circumspectly. Walk in a circle around your life. Take a look at it and remember all the benefits. And so the psalmist said, walk around that city and look at all the benefits that come from it. All right? We have a necessary place of benefits. They were in Jerusalem here, now they're in the church. You're in the church. You are the church. You're it. And so every necessary benefit is yours now. And that requires an active faith. Think, brothers and sisters, think. I'm giving you a good report. Every blessing necessary for you is in the church. Look at Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 7. The watchmen that went about the city found me. They smote me, they wounded me. The keepers of the walls took away my veil from me. They took my veil from me. What's that got to do with our thought tonight? To take away her veil took away her honor, her nobility, her good report. And when there are no good reports, we complain. David did, Psalm 22:6. So how does God reward an act of faith? With honor. He doesn't take away our veil. He covers us with the blood of his Son. But for this lady, they took away her veil from her. They took away her honor. When I'm thinking about things of good report, I'm thinking in terms of honor. I'm thinking in terms of goodness, righteousness. And finally, let's look at Luke 6:26. There is no report from the wicked, brothers and sisters. There's no report from the wicked. I just killed a clipboard there. There's no report from the wicked that is competent to judge us. There is no report from the wicked that is competent to judge us. Listen to the Lord. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. They weren't competent to judge what was true and false because they were wicked. They had no business even involved in it. And so it is the case that every good report is going to come from good people, God's people, honorable people, dignified people, people who are relevant to our joy, people who trust God as we do. And so, Keith, do your duty. And when rumors fly and false reports come and people say ugly things and do bad things, and you hear all about that, just remember that that whole world out there lies in wickedness, and there's nobody out there that's competent to judge us. They don't understand us anyway. And it's a case that all I need to do is trust God, do my duty, and he will bless. Look, I'll close with 2 Corinthians 8:21. 2 Corinthians 8:21. Hope that's in the New Testament. Providing for honest things, not only in the sight of the Lord, watch it, but also in the sight of men. I don't have time to spend a lot of time on that verse, but that means that no matter what the world is saying about me, I'm going to do right. And I will be blessed because I'm thinking noble thoughts, not evil ones. Thank you for your kind attention tonight.